been a while. Heaps still happening, even though it seems like we should be winding down because the virus doesn't care. And are we going to be seeing the death of Delta in the next few weeks? I mean, 2021 has probably been the year of Delta after completely upending health systems, political systems, everything, sport, music, concerts, going out. Lots of deaths, lots of long COVID, lots of attempts at curbing it, lockdowns, vaccinations, new drugs. But it seems we're on the cusp of the death of Delta, and it's come from none of those places. It's come from Mother Nature again, and it seems like the Omicron is set to make Delta disappear, really, because what's happened in South Africa has been played out in the UK and seems to be playing out in the United States right now, where 2% of all cases were Omicron. That's now over 75, and that's in a couple of weeks. So things have changed at an incredible pace. I mean, there's no medicine that I could ever imagine would do something like this. But Delta is disappearing, and what are we left with? Omicron? Yep, well, the cases are skyrocketing of Omicron, but the deaths, not so much. Even the symptomatic cases, not so much. Most of these cases are being picked up by doing swabs, mainly because of Delta. I do wonder if we'd never had any of the preceding Alpha, Beta, Delta, would we even know that Omicron existed? Because nowadays, you go anywhere near a hospital, you're going to get a swab. So we never used to do things like that. Anywho, so Omicron is here. What does it mean around the world? Well, have we learned anything? It doesn't appear that way. In the UK, they're talking about going back to lockdowns. Of course, there's a lot of heat because, as usual, most of the prominent rule breakers are the politicians, and most of the parties that I keep hearing about are actually at Downing Street, which is their parliamentary building, which is just crazy, but is in keeping with the previous shenanigans. Flight bans, yep, they've been called for just like last time. And in New Zealand, yep, they've pushed out the overseas travel mark. So huge impacts. Is it going to impact school? We hope not. But overseas, they're thinking about it. They're thinking about what to do. Of course, the major impact for children is the impact on education, and there's been a few big studies showing that the effects of lockdown and restrictions are right up there in terms of the effect of the disease itself. So that's something to bear in mind. But this year seems to have been the year of Delta, but it is coming to a close. That fits our brain because we do like a close down period over Christmas, and Omicron is going to vanish it seems. We hope in some ways. And so every week there's more and more cautious optimism, I think. But at this stage, it just feels like just caution at this stage, because who knows what could happen with these case numbers rising and health systems creaking. So what else has been happening? Well, as mentioned, most of these cases are Omicron incidental, so that's good news. Should we be swabbing everyone? Well, we probably have to, but you could make a scientific argument in lots of places that it's probably not of huge value, especially if you're not going to be doing isolate, tracing, etc. Probably the oxygen saturation is the key if you're going to be thinking about rationalizing your resources if Omicron continues to spread the way it has. Interestingly, in South Africa, it seems to be disappearing as quickly as it's come, which, I mean, if that plays out in other places, and this is just like a rinse-all and gets rid of Delta and then goes away again, wouldn't that be wonderful? But maybe wishful thinking. So what does it mean for us? Yeah, well, so they've extended the overseas travel ban, which I think is about 28,000 flights and people, and huge mess. And of course, this is now going to really eat up any school holidays. So anybody thinking of going to Aussie during the school holidays, think again. It's a massive disruption. If the cases go up, well, yeah, that'll probably mean the traffic light system is here to stay. And that's definitely causing some tension. People being held abuse, particularly shop owners, particularly, bakeries, cafes. It could turn a bit more feral, but it's certainly pretty nasty stuff. And it's not nice, especially for the people who are just operating a business. I mean, they've really had a terrible year. Then to go back to work must be great. And a lot of these people must be people. You know, they like interacting with people, and then they come back and get daily abuse, which is sad. But anyway, so traffic lights will probably be here to stay. What we don't know about Omicron, well, we don't know about long COVID symptoms. We don't know about the true immunity nature. It seems to protect quite good against Delta and the other variants, but we don't really know if that's going to wane. We do know that some of the vaccines don't seem to be as good as others, and once again, if you bet on Pfizer seems to be coming through again, and there's even more studies that are just completely having a massive impact around the world, the one on boosters. And so boosters are being brought forward, so it's all about Pfizer. I think the Moderna vaccine has also been pretty good in amongst the pack, but it's all about Pfizer, it seems. Doctors keep thinking about next week, what's going to happen next week, but it's actually been about 4 weeks into this, so I think we need to start getting our heads around Omicron and the disappearance of Delta. I feel like a bit of a lone voice of optimism here, because there is a chance that this could be a great thing if it sweeps through and then disappears again, particularly if it gets rid of Delta, which has been a really nasty version of this coronavirus. So will it happen? Will year 2022, can we dream? Will that be year of Omicron? Will it be the first few months of Omicron and then it'll be the year of the end of the pandemic? Who knows? If I keep my optimistic glasses on, if you look at the cases in Auckland now, we're now in the 20s, which is unbelievable, really. So we're in the 20s, we hit relatively few restrictions. I mean, almost no restrictions for the majority of the people who are vaccinated. Unless you're going to go to a big party or a big concert, you can do a lot. And so you can't leave New Zealand, but you can certainly go about your day-to-day pretty easily. So what does this mean? Well, the R value, or the reproductive ref value, all those sort of, that seems to be consistently below 1. So if it's consistently below 1, this thing should burn out. And we've had little hot spots around the country, but they seem to have burnt out as well. So we're only one, case and cluster away from this all going tits up again. But at this stage, it looks like there is a possibility, I'm going to say it, we could hit 0 cases. And then of all the lessons and all the mistakes at the border, it's really about the border. I don't think they'll be able to keep it up, but surely the longer you can hold back that Omicron bridge may definitely help those vaccinations get up there, and then make us better prepared when it does come. And I think every week that goes past without really bad news is a good news story. And we're on track, and New Zealand did the incredible thing of 90% eligible, fully vaxxed, it just seems like a million miles away from when we first saw it. It was about 30%. We thought, goodness me, but time does fly, even in a lockdown. The kids' vaccination program, it looks like there's been some definitely lessons learned on the equity front. Whether or not this translates to actually equity of outcome, who knows? But I think we're all aligning on the same page, which is awesome. And I suspect a lot of children are going to be vaccinated. So I think we're going to keep our high rates. They may not get it initially, but if we follow, like everywhere else, children vaccinations for COVID, it seems there's a lot of good, robust safety information. So barring any unexpected majors, we look like we're well placed to just roll on. So bye-bye Delta. Feel like we should send maybe an obituary. Delta has been just a massive impact on the world. Killed 2 of my uncles in the same week in India. Of course, it was called the Indian variant, and some people have called it the South African variant before that. But it's completely upended everything we do, pretty much. And if it could go away, that would be wonderful. I think a lot of people are thinking, well, the devil you know is the one you know, and we don't know what Omicron's up to. But at this stage, I think we would take a lot of, we would do an exchange for something that wasn't Delta at this stage. But Every week we think we're coming to a new sort of end, but it just seems like we're at the beginning of something new. Merry Christmas.